I'd like to go ahead and kick us off for the let's see, August 7th Biomass webinar, and we're delighted to welcome Dr. Kelly Tiller of Genera. And Kelly, you have many titles and a illustrious history for how you got here. So I will let you select from what you want to share with us today. But we are excited to have you tell us about what Genera has been up to and what that might mean for the biomass community and how we might help you and work together. So,
great.
I do have a few advertisement slides in your deck, I believe, if you are willing to go ahead and share your screen.
Yes, and I put those at the end, although I'm happy to move them up if you prefer.
I will just give them lip service to our sponsors, so it's fine that they're at the end. But the Biomass webinar series is brought to us through sponsorship from a variety of sources. From the federal perspective, we have sponsorship from the Department of Energy, notably through the Center for Advanced Bioenergy and Bioproducts Innovation, or CABI. We also have sponsorship from the U.S. Department of Agriculture through a few grants, but notably the Diverse Corn Belt Grant. That's a collaboration of Midwestern Institution primarily. And then we have private sponsorship through the Midwest Regenerative Ag Fund that represents philanthropy interested in this space. So we're delighted to bring together a holistic portfolio of funders and stakeholders to join this conversation today. So with that, right. Thanks, Andy, for the instructions on how to share sound. We will troubleshoot this as we go, but there is a video link to Kelly's YouTube channel in the chat, and I will repost that as we get there, Kelly, because I know sometimes when people join late, they don't see the chat.
Sure.
All right, take it away, Kelly. Thank you.
Okay, and everyone's seen my screen, a title slide? Great. Okay, so I really appreciate the invitation to join you, and very appreciative of the work that Emily, her team, all of her colleagues there at the University of Illinois and elsewhere are doing to promote a biomass-based economy. And so what I'm going to be talking to you today about is how one company, we're based in Tennessee, is doing that on a commercial scale, and really importantly is scaling that business, because that's really what it takes to drive further growth in this industry and for it to be self-sustaining. So let me start out, well, why biomass, and particularly why grass? So you may have heard this, you may have probably seen this graphic at some point, but there's not anything that you can make out of a barrel of oil that you can't make out of a bale of grass. And there are even some things that you can make out of grass that you can't make out of oil. So it's a very diverse platform, tremendous opportunities for a bio-based, renewable, regenerative, annually renewable in this case, environmentally sustainable source for building and growing our economy. But the key thing is, there are all these things that you can make out of oil, you can make out of grass. It's not a question of can we do it or not. It's a question of can we do it and make money doing it? Because that's the only way we're actually going to be able to transition from an economy that is based on extraction of million-year-old oil out of the ground, to one that is based on smart use of our land. So that's what we're really going to focus on today, is how to do this profitably, where to start. So a little bit about Genera and what we do. Actually, Emily asked me to introduce myself, and I skipped over that part. So I am the founder of Genera, started in 2008. Have now stepped back to the role of Chief Strategy Officer. So I get to do fun things like this and interact with several of you there at the University of Illinois, part of CABI, and try to stay up on what's happening in the industry, in addition to how we're going to grow. But what do? We make really cool stuff out of grass. We focus primarily today on compostable and recyclable packaging products and additional bioproducts that we make along with that. And very good reasons to focus on this. So we'll get right to that. We'll start with the grass itself. Know that most of you are familiar with miscanthus in particular and with other biomass-based feedstocks, but a little bit about why we've selected these where we have here in Tennessee and why they make a lot of sense for us. It is very important for our customers and the products we make ultimately that they have a beneficial, sustainable footprint. And in particular for the products that we're making, where we're replacing a lot of single-use plastics and disposables, the carbon intensity score is very important. So being able to start with a fiber crop that is carbon negative coming out of or going into the start of your process is a fantastic platform to then build a sustainable regenerative product based on. So we are focusing, as I said, on miscanthus. We also use switchgrass in our operations. In our area in East Tennessee, it's a great fit because it's very well suited to a lot of underutilized or marginal lands that aren't even, generating a return for the landowner, the farmer, in many cases. We're doing, production here without the use of irrigation, with very minimal chemicals, fertilizers, in addition to that carbon benefit. But one of the ones I want to really point out that's important with this, and I think this is in contrast to some other biomass-based projects that have relied on residues as a starting point, the year-over-year consistency we get with a purpose-grown, dedicated crop like this is hard to overstate the value of that in a processing operation. So that year in, year out reliability of the qualities, the characteristics, attributes of that fiber, and the ease of management and of that over multiple years is a really important part of the success of the story. So you're seeing here a photo, at least, of our newly expanded, fully integrated biorefinery and advanced thermoforming operation. So we've just completed, we just did the official groundbreaking release about 2 weeks ago. But we just went through about a $350 million expansion of this facility. Most of that, we did expand the actual footprint, but most of that is in new advanced equipment. In this facility, we can produce about 36,000 tons of pulp annually from these grasses. That's about translates in terms of molded fiber to about 80 tons a day then of molded fiber capability that we have today. That's a little more than 2 billion pieces annually. I'll come back to that number, but that's an enormous amount of product day in, day out. We also produce additional bioproducts that are co-produced with the pulp, in particular a lignin-rich liquor or syrup that has a lot of applications in industrial chemicals markets. One other thing I did want to point out is that we have another facility in Houston that is our R&D center, our innovation center, and that is where we do a lot of our product development, product design work, prototyping. We have a lot of equipment and systems there set up so that we can improve and validate new chemistries, new recipes, and fully integrated customer solutions. So let's see. Should we try again whether this video will play or not? We'll try. So I don't know. Once it starts playing, I'm not sure how to see whether you're seeing it or not.
I think what you should do, Kelly, is just real quick, stop sharing.
Okay.
And then, okay, now go to share again. But when you click share, before you go all the way, it should have an option to say share sound.
Okay, let's try that. Fair sound. Perfect. Got it.
Okay, now let's give that a try.
All right. Back to. So are you seeing my screen again?
We're not seeing the slideshow mode, so I think you got to go to the
Yeah.
presenter.
Yeah. There we
There
go.
we go.
Okay. Now let's see if you see the video.
All right, see the video. We'll see if we get the sound.
Genera is proud to be made in the USA and support American farmers. Genera's
Actually, where we were playing with it, we started not at the beginning. Now, here we go.
People are always really surprised when you tell them what this is made from.
Grass.
Grass.
I have yet to explain to anyone that the container that they're eating out of is made entirely out of grass and not just have their jaw drop.
Genera is proud to be made in the USA and support American farmers. Genera's primary crops are giant miscanthus and switchgrass.
These perennial grasses really embody the ethos of our company. They are regenerative in nature, and they're good for 20 plus years if maintained properly. As a farmer, I love what it does for the soil and what it does for the grounds we go to. And by planting this crop one time, not only does it meet our demands, but we're leaving soil better than when we found it. It's just a full circle of benefit to all parties involved.
We've invested heavily here in Von Orr in our manufacturing capacity, and having that investment is really key to being able to scale the business. Genera's pulping process is really one of the keys to our whole sustainability story. The fact that we have a very simple process for making pulp is one of the ways that we can generate products that are so sustainable all the way from the farm to the finished product.
We're really excited about the extraordinary nature of what this plant represents. This is the first of its kind at this sort of scale. We'll make 2.5 billion pieces a year every year. Really, molded fiber can be produced and used in many applications that you might typically think of in plastic now. We've engineered our products in many ways to meet the needs of that particular application. We can take those products along with the food waste or whatever else, and it can end up together with those products in a composting environment. And in our world, we hope that that product comes back to our own farms and it can relive that cycle an infinite number of times. We're living our values in many, many ways. So as we think about our product and what we're making, we're bringing the product closer to its end applications and really creating something that can be truly circular.
Let's see how to get back.
People are always really...
Okay, are we back to seeing my screen now?
That was great.
Are you seeing my screen?
We're seeing your screen in presentation mode.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so even though we had some technical difficulties there, that still was way faster than I could actually tell you what we, what we do. So the types of products that we're making out of grass, we started out with mostly food service items. These are high volume, but relatively low value commodity type things like plates, bowls, takeout containers, again, replacements for either styrofoam or other plastics or single-use plastics in many cases. As we have grown, that is, as I said, high volume, but there are other high volume markets that require a little more tailoring, a little more sophistication to the products to be able to withstand the requirements of sitting on a shelf with proteins or vegetables or other things for, in some cases, weeks at a time, and going through the freezer, to the oven, all kinds of things. So we now are moving beyond food service items into a lot of food and beverage packaging. You think about everything on the, in the meat counter in the grocery store that is on styrofoam today. this is a great alternative for that. And so many states have are rapidly either banning or discouraging the use of these products, that it's a great alternative for the brand owners and the retailers. We're also moving into an actual retail product, so something that you would be able to buy off the shelf in a Target or a grocery store, as well as some packaging for take-home, ready-to-eat meals and other food applications. We have started some work in the areas of healthcare products, everything from pharmaceutical to surgical supplies, as well as some more high-end specialty and consumer applications. So, based on the qualities of the fiber and what we can now do with it, there are almost limitless opportunities. One thing I wanted to really hit on is just what this type of growth means and what some of the challenges are. It was mentioned that we are rapidly scaling to production of over 2 billion pieces annually. So just to give you some perspective on kind of what that means, these are real numbers. So just within the last 6 months, we've increased our production by more than 191%. And we've increased revenues over that same amount of time by more than 200%. We've added more than 2,000 acres in the last growing season, and we've hired and onboarded more than 180 new employees just in this calendar year. So, if you really think about, and even some of these things, okay, 200% increase in revenue and sales over 6 months. That sounds good, but when you think about what that means in terms of the sophistication and the systems that you need behind that for customer service, for quality assurance, for even the back end systems in accounting and supply chain management, and just so many things, it really is a pretty noteworthy increase in scale. And again, I think that this hopefully highlights that for this business, for biomass as a foundational platform to build our economy on, this is the kind of growth that it's going to take. And it's going to take this multiple times over. There's a lot of room for innovation. Now, I've listed here just a dump of a whole lot of what I see as innovation opportunities in molded fiber. This is just molded fiber. If you expand that out to biomass, it gets to be an even more sophisticated, longer list of things. But there are so many areas here that our universities can contribute to. Programs like several of those that Emily mentioned as being sponsors for this webinar. They are investing in all of these areas simultaneously, because we don't need just one of these at a time. We won't get there to the scale if we do these kinds of things one or two at a time. So it really takes a very broad effort working across the economy, across sectors, and across needs to get there. So as far as Genera is concerned, we do have plans, long-term plans to continue expansion of our business. We have tremendous demand. As you saw, with a couple of 100% increase in sales just over the last 6 months, that is only increasing over time. So we are planning to build additional greenfield manufacturing sites that are fully integrated with the feedstock that supplies them. I can't give you a whole lot more details or timeline yet, but I did just want to plant the seed with everyone that we are actively looking at and evaluating sites that make sense for further expansion here. And one of the priorities is the availability of feedstock. And I know that's what a lot of you have expertise in and a passion for. But another thing I do just want to caution everyone about is that alone is not sufficient. There are for these very large capital intensive investments, there are a lot of decision factors that go into it. So, it's also about where the customers are, what the products are you're making, how difficult the permitting environment is, what your energy costs are, your access to labor skill training, the what incentives may be available, access to other raw materials. All of these things together form a comprehensive picture of what makes an ideal expansion location for a biomass-based business. So with that, I'm trying to be brief, leave plenty of time for questions here. Want to hit the ads, the plugs for all of those who make this webinar series possible. And I don't know if you wanted me to show that one or not.
Yep.
The schedule for, yes, so what you have coming up next.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Kelly. Rob's on the call, so we're delighted to have Rob Tripp join us next week from Polterra. But for now, I think it would be great if you want to stop sharing, and we will properly thank you for an excellent presentation, and we can open it up to discussion.
Great.
So I see a couple of people have already gotten us off to a good start in the chat. General reminder, feel free to post questions in the chat that I can help mediate, or just unmute and ask your question. This is a pretty free-form conversation with the number of people that are on the call. So Kelly, the first one is, do you have requirements? I guess maybe what are your requirements for biologic safety of your food container products?
We do have, so our entire facility is SQF certified for food contact, and that entails, lots of manufacturing requirements. And the fact that we are using a raw material and the entire process is a very benign, simple process, that is, in large part why the end products, when they're manufactured in a food safe environment, are as healthy as the food you put on them.
Thanks, that's great. And, again, just unmute if you have additional clarifications. Another question that I think, fits these really nice last few slides you have, I'm definitely going to ask you if I can borrow some of those slides. How many expected acres do you need to fulfill your feedstock needs? I know that's a loaded question, so you take it how you.
Well, if you think back, so a slide that I shared when I was talking about expansion, one of the bullets, I don't think I said anything about, but one of the bullets there was, it's a scalable design. So the feedstock requirement, you have to know the scale of production, and that's what drives your feedstock requirement. So here in Vonore, in our current facility, we can meet 100 tons a day of pulping requirements with roughly 5,000 to 6,000 acres, high yielding acres. But as you scale it, that scales fairly linearly, and it's of course always good to have some buffer to move in and out of particular regions to. So I would expect a little bit above what your minimum needs are. But that's a kind of a rule of thumb for us, at least based on our yields here in Tennessee.
Thanks. How much energy do you think it takes to make one of the plates compared to fossil-based plastic plates? That's tricky too.
That is a tricky question, because one of the things you have to consider is the weight. One of the ways that you measure this is by weight. So on a weight basis, the energy use is pretty comparable. On a per plate basis, because a styrofoam piece is very lightweight, that's where you'll see some statistics sometimes that I think maybe don't tell the full story. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. This is an energy intensive process. The thermoforming is the way that we take a grass that's been pulped and is largely a high moisture slurry and convert that into a fully dried formed product in just a matter of a couple of seconds. The way that happens is with a lot of heat and pressure. And so it does take energy. I think we have some really interesting opportunities to cut that energy use into, only fractions of where we are today, but that's where we are today.
Great, thank you. And could you just say a little bit more about the competition that you see coming for feedstock? You mentioned availability of feedstock, but it's a lot of pieces in play, right? With sustainable aviation fuel maybe being a thing, maybe not being a thing. Can you comment on how you view the competitive marketplace for feedstock?
Well, I believe that increasing the availability of feedstock is not necessarily competitive, it's complementary. There are, it is the same feedstock that can go into multiple of these processes and make lots of different products. That is fantastic. But again, I don't view that necessarily as competitive. Think back to that barrel of oil illustration in one of the early pictures. You don't view plastics and heavy tanker fuel or bunker fuel and heating oil and high-end chemistries. You don't view those as like, oh, it's one or the other. No, it's all of the above. And so that really is the ultimate goal, is to be able to extract the highest value from a given amount of biomass and to send that in the direction of whatever the highest value for that fraction, that stream is. Now, today, we don't, we're not far enough along in development of this. The oil industry's had, 150 years head start. We will get there, but that's why I think today you really need an anchor. And so in our case, we're starting with the fiber, molded fiber. But as I said earlier, too, we do produce other bioproducts, chemical substrates, and building blocks, along with some other fiber type products. So, it's all the above, not either or.
That's definitely what we find exciting too. So Roger asked a great question for those of us who also are pretty passionate about switchgrass or some other crops. Can you comment about other crops in your biomass portfolio and what's next on the list for you? Maybe what regions are next on the list for you?
Yeah, I'm often asked about, oh, well, but what's your favorite feedstock? It'd be like choosing from your children. All feedstocks are great. They just have different properties, different characteristics, attributes, and they're different in a different location. So to me, it's very much about tailoring a feedstock to a specific process and an end use, and at the same time tailoring it to what fits in ag culture and with the land that you have, land, equipment, everything else that you have. So I would say that switchgrass and miscanthus, obviously, we've determined are a fantastic fit for us, and they make a great fiber, cost effective to use in this process. So I would expect, as we look to other places, we'll be initially looking for places that where these feedstocks also grow well, because we've kind of got this down. Doesn't mean that there might not be, other locations in the more distant future that use other feedstocks, or even other processes to extract value from them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So we got some interesting questions here about, some of these big picture efficiency issues, understanding them, how biomass conversion compares to wind or solar. And I think you sort of alluded that you don't see that as an or, you see it as an and.
Well, so I would say it depends on what you're trying to do. We can't, we can't make these plates and things behind me out of wind or out of solar. Like, we need a biomass, we need a physical transformation of a material to be able to make a new material and product. So, you know, wind and solar and everything else are great, and we would, we will use as much of the renewable energy sources as we can afford at any time. But again, I think it's these things are all complementary, and we need all of them.
Thanks. Andy.
Thank you, Kelly. I just wanted to hear a little bit more about the workforce that you're developing and working in this kind of environment. And so could you just tell us more about how you have a big increase in employees? How many people are working there? And if a Genera operation were to come to a neighborhood near me, what can we expect in terms of job creation and the like?
Okay, so we in total, Genera today employs right at 300 people, and about 210 of those are working in operations, on the floor and in the manufacturing plant. The rest are in sales, back office support, administrative, legal, all that, everything else. So roughly 2/3 manufacturing, 1/3 support and what it takes to keep that going. And I think that's now that is again for a roughly 100-ton a day or 36,000 ton annual pulping facility, and about 80 or so tons a day of or 2.5 billion pieces or so of output. I expect this will be the smallest plant we will ever build. This is where we started, but you do get economies of scale are real. And so we will, I expect, increase the size in future ones. That does not translate to a linear increase in employment. You saw probably in the video and some other things, I think we've installed 134 multi-axis FANUC robots over the last year and a half. So there's a lot of automation, automated packaging lines. And, again, I think these are very important for the business because they do allow us to scale. They allow us to achieve production levels. They improve quality control. They, work 24/7, 365. And they don't take vacations. And so, that then enables the people we're employing to do lots of other things and to continue to expand this. So, I do think it certainly would not be double that number of employees to double the capacity. It's probably, I'm shooting from the hip here, but maybe a 20-30% increase over that to almost double capacity.
I'm going to take, I guess, the opportunity to ask the last question since I'm in the driver's seat today, and I want to make sure we have time for people to get back to their regularly scheduled programming. But Kelly, could you comment on how you're paying farmers? What can you help us track value back to the farmers? How does this work? How do you contract the supply, or is it vertically integrated? Just walk us through some of that.
We have two different models for our feedstock supply. So one is a model where the farmer, landowner, take all the risk. They plant the crop, they manage it, they do everything, and now they do it in concert with us. So we're sure we're getting what we really want and need and when. But we buy it. We buy feedstock then from them on a dollars per ton basis, dry ton. That works very well for switchgrass, where we have farmers who are familiar with the equipment, the systems, and that's worked very well in that case. As far as how much is it, well, it needs to be competitive, right? It's as much as we need to pay to ensure we have a long-term locked-in supply. So these crops are handled much like a hay crop, and so it needs to be higher value than they could get doing anything else with it. And again, locking that in for multiple years it's important. The other model we have is a much more vertically integrated model, and I would say that almost all, well, today, pretty much all of our miscanthus is managed by our ag team under a lease situation. So we work with a lot of landowners. In this particular area in East Tennessee, we have a lot of land that's several generations removed from active farming now, and they have a job somewhere else. Maybe they live in another state even, and they want to keep the farm and agriculture. They want to keep it, productive, and they want to, improve the value of the land over time. But they don't want to farm it themselves, and so that's been a great opportunity for us to, put that land to work in a conservation use. So we lease the land for multiple years, and then we self-perform everything. We do that in some cases with partners, like we work with Agrotech on the establishment piece, and then we handle everything else, management and harvesting and logistics beyond that. Again, it needs to be a competitive land rent.
Thanks, Kelly. I think we effectively picked your brain in 20 minutes. That was a lot, and we're very grateful for you sharing that with us. The webinar series are, of course, on YouTube. You can find the playlist there. It's should be in your calendar invite now, but I'll make sure we get that shared with you. So you can come back and watch Kelly's presentation anytime. Kelly, did you have any questions for the group? Just throw that out there since you have access. This case, it's just 28 of us. But if there's any charge you'd like to give to the community, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to do that.
I thank you all for taking time to, to learn a little more with us together, because as I've said a couple of times here, it takes all of us working together to move this forward. So, I think what we're doing is one piece. What everyone else here on this, in this webinar is doing, it's also a really important part of the whole puzzle that it takes to move this forward.
That's a great way to wrap things up. So thank you very much, Kelly. Everybody have a great day, and we'll see you back here next week for Rob Tripp and Polterra. Take care.
Thank you.